Hi.
That's a good start. We should don't cut this part, okay?
Okay.
It's like, one of those like bloopers like, at the end, like it's the most.
I love putting these in because they give you the sense of reality. Like this is what's going on before we start recording. Everybody,
Yes.
like this is what's happening. Just so you know. Okay, let's do it. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 5 People on the Go, the show that's all about tools and approaches for success from the most brilliant people. My name is Meital Zavi. I'm your host, and today we have Constantin Kogan. He is the co-founder of Bullperks. He is an author, apparently, which is really cool, an entrepreneur, and in total, just a really fun person, I gotta say. So, hi, how are you?
Hi, Mitar. I'm great. Thank you for having me. And
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, just one addition. I was a co-founder of Bullperks and GameSpot, so there's a second company as well. I'm amazing, and we're so glad to be in your show. I viewed a lot of previous shows, and they're amazing. So yeah, let's have some fun today.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you're here. And I'm extremely glad you're here because today we're going to talk about something that's considered an enigma for a lot of people around the business world, which is NFTs. Now, I talk a lot about NFTs because I'm a really big fan of the crypto world and everything that it allows society. But I think that one of the biggest questions is, when should you even consider, actually taking your business into the next step of the Web3 and decentralizing and everything related to it? And this is the question we're going to tackle today. So let's start from maybe giving a little bit background for people that are not that familiar with this world. What is it?
So yeah, I think we should start from the basics, right? So for me, the way I perceive NFTs is a digital wrapper, right? So the technical part of it, like it's non-fungible token, like it doesn't invoke like any emotion in person, right? So it's like very technical. Like people think, oh, that's like some crypto for geeks, right? And not fun. Now, if you really go into it, like the NFT community is actually predominantly filled with artists, like people who are very creative, and that's the tool for them to express themselves. So, which is counterintuitive. Like the people think, oh, this is like speculators or people who just like trade. It's actually not. Like there are people like that in the industry, but the most, I would say, interesting, like it's a subjective, obviously, connotation, but like I would say for me personally, the most interesting examples of beautiful and like really exciting NFTs were like presented by artists and big brands. So if we define it in simplified words, that it's a digital wrapper. So basically you can create an NFT of anything you want. Now, we're sitting in a room here, like we can create an NFT of this table, right? So the table will have like a physical representation and we can create an NFT of the table, right? Now, you might say, well, like Constantine, like you're crazy. Why would he create an NFT of a table? What's the reason, right?
Yeah, why should I need an NFT of the table? I have the table right here.
Exactly. Now, on the one hand, so this is one way to look at it, but then you think about our digital world right now, where during the COVID times, people were locked down in their homes and they didn't have an opportunity to see each other for a year, let's say, right? Now, I might know that in your apartment, you have this amazing table, but you know what? I can no longer touch it. I can no longer feel it. I can no longer relate to it in the real world. So by having a digital representation, it may give me some of memorabilia, or something like that can bring you back to this memory, and I can share it with others. So it's not just a picture. What's important to understand, it's an ability to somehow bring a value, the digital value to this object, potentially, right? You can create it like with no object. It can be only a digital representation. But let's imagine we combine with real world. And then if I want to go further and I want to show off that I have actually an NFT that has a direct connection to this table, I can put it in my avatar in, let's say nowadays in Twitter, which will showcase that I'm an owner of a unique table And now imagine this table is from, I don't know, 18th century, right? And it actually has like some
value,
right? It's antique, right? And it, let's say, costs like $10,000. Now before, I might tell it to a few of my friends, right? So they will know, oh, okay, well, he has this amazing table. They come to my house, they sit like, wow. Well, like, let's say the pool of people who would know about it is like 100 people. And that's all. That's a limited pool of people. And if I'm lucky, maybe I get to Forbes like 30 under 30, and then they write about me. Some more people will know about it. But it's still a limited pool, right, of people. Now, the NFT gives you an opportunity to transfer this information to, in a way, like to make you famous for having something unique. I'm not saying this is the main application, but I'm saying like one of the applications that nowadays
it sounds like kind of a digital flexing kind of thing.
In a way.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying like this is the most important. I want to be also very, very open about it because the PFP, how it started, like the avatar part of it, right? Where people just creating those avatars of monkeys or avatars of gremlins or anything, right?
Yeah.
It's a concept of a private club. Now, at the end of the tunnel, like you can think about it like it's not only about art itself. It's about the unique access. And unique access of opportunity, unique access of information, unique gathering of people who know something that nobody else is knows and who understand cultural trends. And we think, wow, this is like, it's weird or something like unexpected. But if we go back a little bit in time, all those private clubs already existed. The reason why in art, for example, it's a very clear parallel with NFTs. Why one picture has a cost of $30 million and another picture is like $3,000.
Yeah.
Because the picture that is, let's say, somewhere in Guggenheim Museum, right, and is well respected by most famous like art dealers and collectors, and it actually has a reputation and it has value, it has a transactional value. It's just because this is how they build the value of this asset. With NFTs, it's also very similar structure, but like it's even more global. It's even more decentralized. You don't have to be a famous artist. You can be you. You can just paint something. And if the community around you support it, it becomes very big.
Okay. But like this kind of example, some people can relate to it. But I know many people around the world that are not that fans of art and definitely not collectors. And like the last thing they will think about is that I want an image that's digital that I can't even like hang on the wall. So why should those people be interested in NFTs?
It's a great question. So obviously, we have only two cycles that the NFT as a novelty, like as something new that appeared on a blockchain technology that, very different from speculative token, right? It appeared like very recently. What I mean by two cycles that the experiments that we went through, starting from CryptoKitties, and then Bored Ape Club, right? There's not a lot of them. It's becoming more and more, but we're talking about global success experiences. There's only now coming out more and more collections. So that means there's a lot of means of experimentation. As I mentioned, why I like the definition of digital wrapper, because you literally can create anything, like a collection of anything. And to give more examples why other groups of people might be interested. For example, Porsche recently released an amazing collection, sold out in one day, something like that. It was just so they provide clear value for the community of people who are already big fans of this luxury sport car, right? And you don't have to explain them why they should be fans of Porsche as a brand. What you actually do, you provide an additional value, whether you embed gifts, some kind of merchandise, maybe a bag of Porsche bag, or an opportunity to win, Grand Prix tour to Monaco, with an NFT, a mystery box, right? Because another example, which I like to present for people who were collecting, baseball cards or any board games, Magic the Gathering. So not a lot of kids remember that, like, but when I used to buy them, those collections, you get a pack and you actually don't know what's inside the pack. So that means you can get like common, just a simple card that has not a big value. Or you can get a rare card, which is actually super valuable because it's rare. Now, if you apply this principle to NFTs, any brand can be as creative as they want. They can create a unique experience for a person and to win it in this particular NFT as a gift. So, and another example, which again might be controversial, but I still will present it, like Trump recently issued his NFT collection. 44,000 NFTs sold out in 2 days. Each NFT was $100 worth. So you think about it, well, first of all, like some people hate him, love him, whatever. But what I think as a marketer, he was very smart about, he embedded the opportunity to win a golf experience with Trump or a dinner with Trump. So it was not only about the technology or some innovation, it was about the marketing tool that presented his existing audience to somehow interact with him. And there are, like, I can give you 5 or 10 more examples, but the gist of it is that, like, it's literally a new tool to create value, to transfer value, and make it fun.
Okay, so how is it different from any other raffle I can do online, or I don't know, sending all my, like, just an email for everybody, like, yeah, you're part of my membership now. Why NFTs?
So that's also a great question. So if you think about it, like, if we are doing it like that, any company obviously can do a raffle, right?
Yeah, it's very simple.
Yeah, but then it stays in their closed ecosystem. The beauty of NFTs is that we're creating now a global market, which is interoperable and which is also can provide you an opportunity on a secondary market to buy or sell it and to somehow like have the appreciation of it. So one of the best examples that is probably very clear to relate, especially in the United States, for example, air miles, right? So you get bonuses in air miles. Now they can live in a closed silos, in closed ecosystems of Delta, United, other Alaska Airlines, something. So they're not transferable. So you have 1,000 airlines in Delta, I have 1,000 United. We cannot exchange them. We cannot sell them to each other.
True.
So, and that means that this exchange of value ends there. It's only you and you who can use it, and that's all.
So you get an actual ownership here.
Yes. Not only, so first of all, it's unique ownership. It's an opportunity to provide the verification, like the authenticity that this is a unique asset that's provided by a particular creator. So in addition, obviously, the creator gets royalties, so it's a benefit for creator to in perpetuity to get royalties, whether he's a music creator or an artist, right? Which is another beautiful disintermediation if you think about it. Now, the third component, like you have a secondary market. So if I, for some reason, think that your unique Meitar NFT that you created, right? Today only costs $100, but I know you. I know you're a hustler. I know that like in 5 years, you'll do something great. And this unique collection, which I believe will appreciate 5 times. I will buy it from you today at $150 because I'm a hustler too. So I think I will resell it for $500, right? So that's a speculative approach. And the second approach, I have an NFT to be part of Meitar Unique Club, which you will issue with a limited edition of 1,000 NFTs, and that's all. There will never be more. I want to be in your club. So guess what? If I really respect you, if I really like you, and I want to have some benefits that you provide me by owning this NFT, and I want to be in your club, guess what? I'm going to hold it just because for me, there is additional value. It's not only about the money.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But I'm thinking, you gave a few examples before. You talked about Trump, you talked about Porsche, which are big brands. They have a really big following. So when is it actually worth it to do an NFT collection? Because I'm sure it's not a cheap process either. It's like lawyers and everything. It's pretty complicated.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends, like who and how you create it. But yeah, it's a great question because again, it depends like who are we talking about. Like if it's a brand, it's a separate story because you have to talk about like IP. Because for example, if I want to create right now a Disney collection, I need to ask Disney for permission to use their intellectual property, right? So it's not just like that easy.
Yeah.
So if I'm not doing that, they will sue me and I'll be in trouble. So you're correct. You have legal and compliance challenges here. Now, if I'm creating my own collection, it makes sense if I have a good following, right? As you mentioned, for example, an example of whatever Trump or the Paris Hilton or anyone who's already known, it's easy for them. It's almost like upsell. Now, in a case that I have only like say 1,000 followers, and it might be challenging to have like create a 10,000 collection. I might not just, sell out. So what I do, I can create a limited edition, like, or maybe one or two, test the waters, see if the community loves it. And for that, I don't need a lot of money. I can mint it for like, few dollars, right? Depending on the Ethereum price right now are very also low. So a lot of the NFTs I'm minting on Ethereum network. So you pay Ethereum as a small gas fee. Think about it as a commission, just to create them. Now then you embed any visual, whether it's 2D or 3D, put it on the famous one of the most like top marketplaces, and then you hope for the best, or you do some extra efforts. If you know and understand marketing, then you go to communities and present it and wait for an honest feedback. So it always depends, like, obviously, what is the goal? If the goal is to make money as a brand, it's one component which and different small things that you have to take into account to structure it. And you're correct. It might take hundreds of thousands of dollars just to prepare this collection. Just to give you an example, like it's one thing is to like you just create it like with your app, like any picture, and you put it on the marketplace. Now, every day millions of NFTs are being minted, so you're just going to be lost in the ocean,
in the wilderness.
Yes. Yeah. Now, if you're experienced marketer and you understand, okay, so what I have to do to stand out. How do I target my audience so that they will actually like see it, find it, and buy it? Then you think about different components. You create, okay, what's the number? What is my distribution channel? What is the number of users I can reach organically? And what is the number of users I need to reach? Let's say I want to reach like another million people with my ads. So I need to know where they reside. Most of the NFT users are actually not in our traditional networks. They're not on Facebook. They're in Discord.
Yeah.
They're in Twitter. And a lot of people not very familiar with those platforms. Even though they say, well, Twitter is like 400 million people, like platform, social network. I mean, I know a lot of folks who are just not big fans of Twitter. They just don't know how to operate there, and they don't know how to market there in Twitter. Discord is a nightmare for them. They're like saying this is like something for gamers. Oh my God, it's just like it's too much information. So obviously, then you go to professional marketing companies who specialize on how to promote specifically in those channels. So this is the marketing aspect. We touched legal and compliance, marketing, then you have a technical layer. Obviously, on the technical layer, you need to mint them, right? If you are not a developer yourself, you probably want to think about hiring people who know how to build NFTs on ERC 721, or ERC 1150. So there's different protocols. Again, not to bore you with technical side of things. Just imagine those are like different protocols on blockchain, and you pick according to what your needs are. And then you think about it like, okay, so I am creating like one is easy. Now, if you're creating, let's say, even 1,000, all of them have unique metadata. All of them has to have unique ID, and they have to have different properties. Like in Bored Ape Club, like, those monkeys, people think, oh, they're almost all the same. They're actually not. There are like multiple properties, 7 or 8 properties that are different. And according to those uniqueness of those properties, you can have like a hat that is only like 2% of the collection.
Yeah.
The rarity of the item is defined like that. So, but people who are users, they see in the end product. You, as a creator, have to think it through. So you have to become an architect of a club or a game or a community, a society. It's not an easy job. It requires a lot of thinking, like a lot of anticipation and moving forward. Like how will people appreciate it? And then when they buy it the first time, what's going to happen like what will incentivize them to share it the second time? What will they do? What's going to be utility of this NFT besides the fact that they bought it and they're in my club? Does it provide them access to my private club, physical one? Or does it provide them access to some unique information that nobody has access to, and it's like a gated Discord chat, you know? So there are a lot of questions which are connected to this.
So you gave a pretty interesting example about the club, because I got to talk to a lot of people about it. And one of the things that I hear the most is that, well, it's not worth it for me to create a club with NFTs. It's better to have some sort of subscription, and then I get a monthly pay instead of a one-time fee. So what is your opinion on that?
I think if that's their opinion, they're correct. You know, it's any entrepreneur, like, he needs to know their audience. And I think there's nobody else who knows better their audience than them. Like, so for a lot of clubs, obviously, it's the subscription model is more interesting. Now, on the other hand, if you think about it, the NFT gives you a very different narrative, right? Because if you create a club where there's only, let's say, 100 members, just to give you a radical example, right? But the demand is 1,000 members. So naturally, the price of an NFT will grow. Because think about it, like you have an opportunity to actually, you bought it for, let's say, $1,000, and now somebody's offering you $10,000 just to get in. You can resell it. With a subscription model at any club in the world, well, maybe I'm missing. Maybe there are some secondary closed market, but not that I know of.
Well, not legal anyway.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I researched it a lot, and not legal yet. So you cannot resell it. It's like a very individual thing. Like, we either in the club or you're not. Simple, pure and clean. Now, in the concept of like creating this FOMO, like this fear of missing out in our world, there are a lot of different strategies that you can apply. And those are not the only incentives, obviously, but I'm just saying that one of them is just like you're becoming a part of something unique. And that right now I looked at the CryptoPunks, for example. You know that there's not a single one are for sale.
Really?
Yes.
None.
So I looked at the price. We're talking about the price, which is now with the ETH price, is probably we're talking about $80,000 to $100,000. Not a single for sale.
Okay.
So a lot of people I know, probably including me, would probably love to buy them, but there's none for sale. So guess what? That means that potentially, I'm not saying it's not an investment advice, but potentially the price will appreciate. Because those are like, as we call it, like unique OG,
yeah, this is more like a collectible piece.
Yeah,
it's like the first collection. Well, not the first, but the first known one, I guess.
Yeah, and then so think about it. If you look at it from this perspective, it's a very, very different logic. It's more relatable to the art, as we mentioned before, where a piece of art in a unique piece, right, is so rare that people will fight for it.
Okay. So I want to go back a little bit, because I feel like you and I, we talk the same language. We know the field. We've been through a lot. But I feel like some people that are watching this will still have some difficulties to understand, like, when should they even consider it? Because we talked about having a big brand. We talked about having a following. We talked about the fact that you will need legal, you will need tech, you will need marketing. So all of these need to be considered, like, in what you're going to pay for it. What can you gain from it? Especially since we're talking about something that is so volatile. So.
Well, what can you gain from it? Like, obviously.
Yeah, like in the end, when is it worth it?
There's no answer that will fit all the participants. So obviously, for a big brand, that's one answer. For an individual, like an influencer, or for a small business, those are three different case studies, right? So I would go like, so obviously for a big brand, it's an upsell in a nutshell. Very easy. Makes sense. Like, obviously then depends which industry you are. Like art and fashion are like no-brainer, Like literally like amazing. Anything that is like gaming, amazing. Also like, for example, anything related to like retail investors, right? And massive brands where they already have existing following. I think there are a lot of place for creativity there. I'm not saying that every single brand like is applicable for that. Like, government companies probably not really. But, those retail consumer brands easily.
Yeah, I think I would buy an NFT of Costco.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Think about it. Like, and there's so many things you can embed into it. Like we just launched a campaign of where an NFT actually helped them to get a bag of one fancy brand, not to give them shout out, but like so that was very logical, right? So not only there's a scarcity for getting the NFT and get into the club, but also you can get a physical product. So it makes sense. It's like the logic of sweepstakes, right, or giveaways. Now, if we're talking about the small brands, honestly, it's case by case. Not always it's smart, to be honest, to be clear, because it's sometimes the preparation, the amount of money you spend on it, like it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And what's more important, the ethos of the company is not there. To give an example, the company is trading agricultural products or fertilizers, like I'm not sure they need an NFT,
I get it, yeah.
or spare parts. I don't know. But if you are, let's say, a boutique store that is like, I don't know, selling like luxury cosmetics, right? And you're still a small business, but you can create some fun opportunities. Like a New Year, we're close to New Year here in the United States, which is big, right? You can create some kind of giveaway in a form of NFT.
Yeah.
Now, might not be relevant for you if you actually know that your audience is 99% are 50 plus, and not super tech savvy. But if you know that your audience is young and they're like, let's say, millennials and young and Gen Z, and you actually understand that, oh wow, these guys all know how to use, mobile devices. Let's say 44% of them already own a crypto wallet, most likely, and then a lot of them actually are already into this. I would consider it as an experiment.
Okay. But what do you think about all the statements that crypto is dead, it's not going to happen, NFT is dead, everything is dead, everyone are dead? It's like you hear it everywhere.
Yeah, I'm no longer that like even just. I don't even care about those statements because I've been through 8 years of my, or probably even more than 9 years already. My, I'd say like different experiences in crypto. I've been through 3 cycles, so bull and bear cycles, and I can tell you that every cycle, no matter what is the price of Bitcoin, or the other underlying assets like crypto assets, people always were complaining. Like every time there was like a peak. I remember like the last one, 2017, 18. It peaked like 20,000 and then it went down to 3,000 February. Like everybody, oh my God, it's dead again. And it was dead already so many times that like at some point you're like, okay, well, it's not and it will not be dead. But I would separate obviously NFT as a conceptual creation from the rest of the crypto. Because I think it's important to understand that the token structure, something as cryptocurrency as Bitcoin or Ethereum, they're very different from NFT. So NFT as a term was coined and was became popular in 2018 somewhere around. Not earlier than that, to be honest. And it started to go, and then only in this cycle it became really really popular. When if you look at the Google trends, the word NFTs was very very
everywhere.
Common. Yes.
Yeah.
Before that, there's only a small group of people who actually talked about it. Inside the industry, yeah, we talked about it a lot. It was something very common for degens and crypto geeks. But outside of the industry, not so much. And only when big influencers, Paris Hilton and maybe a few other big names, started to massively promote projects, that's when we started to talk about it as something that, okay, well, there's some kind of adoption.
Okay, so what is your prediction? When can we have hope again?
I always have hope. I don't know. People who don't have hope, they probably should not invest.
That makes sense, yeah.
I mean, listen, investment is risk reward, always. If you don't understand the risk component, you should not invest, period. Doesn't matter if it's a stock or if it's a bond or if it's an NFT. Now, intrinsically, crypto is considered like an alternative asset class, so it's very risky. So that means you have to be even more cautious. And if you don't know what you're investing in, I would suggest to maybe, take a step back and just learn about it. Spend a month. There's free information on YouTube. Like we as a company generated like 200 videos already. Just from the videos of like how to create a MetaMask wallet to videos like what is an NFT and what are the applications of NFT in multiple business like metaverse, sports clubs, etc., etc. So just read those things, and then try to understand what are you investing in. And if you, after all this reading, you still believe in and you have hope, then get into it and understand that this is something like you invest like whatever, $100 and then you forget about them.
Okay. That's from the investor standpoint.
Yes.
From the business who is thinking about creating an NFT. Because I feel like as a business, it's really hard to have a business plan with something that is based on coins that might change their value in like 1,000% in a day. So it's always like these huge numbers that makes no sense. So how can you plan on it?
Well, there are like in anything in the world, there's an opportunity to predict and to anticipate risk. So we, for example, if some big brands approached us and they asked us for help, for consultancy, we explained them the nature of how the price discovery works in the NFT world. So obviously there's a floor price, which can start somewhere from like, it's equivalent to $100, right? Or whatever, 0.002 ETH, right? So, and then because as you mentioned, ETH is a volatile cryptocurrency, so the price can go up and down. And they always put like I can give you some fun examples, like Justin Bieber. Actually, they make fun of him now because he lost
constantly. I see it everywhere.
Like more than $1 million buying from Bored Ape. Like, I don't think it's a fair statement, to be honest, because again, he participated in a certain trend, and you cannot always win. So number one, you have to understand. So if you didn't sell the crypto or any asset you have, like that means you didn't lose money. That means for this particular moment of time, the value of this asset is less than you bought it for. Well, guess what? It happens in stocks as well. Many stocks underperform. A lot of them actually this year didn't perform really well at all. So a lot of the portfolios are red. That means they're negative. But you're not losing money before you actually sell it.
Yeah, but it's hard to compare actually crypto to stocks because with stocks, everything is regulated. Everything is like very known and there are no questions about it. With crypto, I can, like you said, mint an NFT tomorrow morning and be like, okay, guys, this is my token. Starting now, if you want to invest in me, you can do that. So it's a different world.
It is. And then again, so that's why you have to be even more cautious. You have to do even more due diligence. And
no, I'm talking as the people that are like thinking about creating their own collection for their business.
That's another reason. So for example, even to find people who are legitimate and they understand the industry and still want to do good, it's not easy. And then for them to discover those partners and to understand and to issue a collection that will be legal and compliant with in the United States with a Security and Exchange Commission. That means you need to KYC every user. So you need to create a verification that is very common in banks, right? They take all your passport, they take your picture, etc. So there's automated ways to do that. But the funny part that people who are actually buying crypto, they're not very happy about it. So people who are like buying NFT, they're more of a narrative. They prefer like decentralized narrative, which means you can connect your wallet, you can buy it, and that's your decision how you spend your money.
Well, I get that, but on the other hand, so many people take advantage of it that I don't know if I actually like this method or no. Because I enjoy the fact that I have privacy, but I don't enjoy the fact that someone can just hack into my wallet, take everything, and there's no way for me to track it because everything is anonymous.
I understand this concern, and it's a legitimate concern, but guess what? Banks can go down, and like they, this famous example is here, like after the collapse of 2008 and 2009 Lehman Brothers and etc. Dodd-Frank, the Investor Protection Act, and they say like, oh, we'll have now FDIC insurance, which can cover 250K. What if you have more than 250K? You know what's going to happen? Nothing. Most likely, the bank will not return you anything. If the bank can go bankrupt, you have very similar issue if somebody will hack your wallet. Now, obviously, you have a certain insurance, that's true, and the government can go and print more money and bail out the bank, which goes on the shoulders of taxpayers. But the bottom line is, yes, there is more risk in owning your own crypto wallet and your own keys, which is encrypted keys, and it's not for everyone. I want to be very clear. I'm not promoting this for every single person, but at the same time, each person can have an ability to decide how to transact. Because what we're not talking about, like how the traditional banking system works, they can freeze your account with no reason. For example, you're coming from Israel. For some reason, they suspect that you did something wrong, freeze your account and all your assets. And guess what? You will not be able to do anything. You will try to sue the bank. Trust me, they have the best lawyers. You will never win. And this is the crazy part. That means people think, oh, well, what do I trade? Like, what is my trade-off, right? I trade security, which is very important to understand. Like, at sometimes it's like a very psychological security as opposed to my privacy. Now, sometimes this trade-off is reasonable. Sometimes it's not. So it's up to each person to decide what they want. I think somewhere the balance part, when you still have a bank account, right, which most of the people, obviously in modern society, they do have. And at the same time, you try out. You create your wallet and see if it's even possible for you to navigate a crypto wallet. Start from there. Buy something very, very small and try to feel if it's like something that is close to your value system that is important to you.
Okay, yeah, I get it. We need to finish soon. So I'll just ask you if you have any advice, like what is your top advice for our listeners that are probably like these entrepreneurs that are considering different revenue stream? What would be your top advice?
My top advice is go and find something you really like from one of the recent collections. Just participate, just interact. Go to the Discord communities. Try to talk to people. Try to learn about it. Try to be flexible and try to learn this different, like crazy world. You might be very critical about it, but like just open your heart and go explore. I think this is where it starts. Before you actually test it and see that it's not just like a community of crazy geeks, but it's also like a community of really smart, innovative people. Before you actually feel this beautiful atmosphere, which is like full of like acceptance and love, like I think before that it would be really hard to explain anything to anyone.
That makes a really good sense. Just go explore.
Yes.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Constantin. It was great. I feel it was really enriching. And even though it's like hard questions, because I know it's controversial, it's not for everybody, and that's okay. It's like, but it's important to put things the way they are and give people the opportunity to decide what's good for them.
Exactly. I appreciate you having me here, Mitar.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys for listening or watching this episode. And I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye, guys.